Hello, everyone, and good morning. This is Perlina with Perlina's Precious Pretties on YouTube. It is 6:30 in the morning right now, and the kids are asleep. And I think I have an opportunity to do a quick tutorial as well as announce the winner to my Prima flower giveaway that I'm sorry, ladies, I should have announced last Friday, but the long weekend started very early for me and the time didn't come for me. So now that the kids had school yesterday, they went to sleep earlier and well, they should be waking up soon, but I still have quiet time. It is so quiet and beautiful right now in the house, and I wanted to share this technique with all of you. So I had a request on the Little Scraps of Heaven Designs Facebook page. Well, it wasn't so much a request as much as it was a question asking whether or not you needed to have a different software program in order to use the print and cut feature on your Silhouette Cameo, and you don't actually. You can do this, everything with this technique you can do with this one program here. And the technique that we're going to learn today is how to take your clip art or your finished pieces from Little Scraps of Heaven design files and cut them out, print them and cut them out to use with your scrapbook pieces. So if if you don't have time essentially to put all the pieces together, or you just really like the way the design is created by Trisha here, you can just go ahead and cut it out and put it on your pieces in your albums, in your scrapbook layouts, and it's really fast, it's fun, and the work is pretty much done for you. So let's begin. This file here is the Oh So Loud file on the Little Scraps of Heaven Design website. I will put a link below to this file so that you can download it as well. It's cute. It's just adorable. Are you serious? I'm going to make Tear Bears with them as well, but I did want to do this just to give you all some versatility or show you some more versatility when using these files. So first what we want to do is make sure that we have this file downloaded and we know where it's saved at. We also want to open our Silhouette Studio um, in order to start the process. So you would have a blank page essentially. Here's a blank page we're going to work with here. And you know, basically this is how it should look. So your grid line should be up for your measurements. And this is how you get to your grid lines here. You click the last little icon here, the grid icon, and you just make sure Show Grid is selected. And you basically start from here. So what we're going to do is we're going to click File and Open, and wherever your file is where you want to get it from. Excuse the mess in here, I have a lot of organizing to do. And here's my file, the Oh So Loud file. Now here, file types, the files of type, it for me default is Silhouette Studio. You should have this set to all files if it isn't already, because if you don't have it set to all files, let's say you go here and you just leave it where it says Silhouette Studio, when you click in one of the folders to get one of the SVGs or GSD or the finished files, you won't see any of them because these files don't come with Silhouette Studio as an option or as a, it's basically saved as Studio, and unless the item is saved as Studio, it won't show up. So we're going to go ahead and make sure we pick all files, and then we can see all the options that we have to work with. Today we will be working with the finished files. Typically we work with the SVGs, but we will be working with the finished files for this tutorial. So what you want to do, oh, and she actually does have it saved. Well, I'm defaulted at Silhouette for when I save my images. So you may see an image, like a whatever image program you use, you may see like that icon here, but she has here the option for you. It's a PNG file and you have the option to use it as your Silhouette file. So you want to click that, hold it down, drag it out, and there it is. There's the file, okay? I'm going to go ahead and take the grid lines off so we can see them a little better. Well, no, I think you can see that pretty clear. So we're just going to grab all the files that are finished and pull them out. Standing Bear, and the title. So everything that comes with this set specifically is pulled out and ready for me to do the technique with. Okay, I'm going to make them smaller. You can choose whatever size you'd like, but for the purpose of this tutorial, I'm going to make them smaller uh, so that they fit within the dimensions that I have that I'm working with. Go ahead and select them all, and they're going to be a little smaller. And we could even zoom in to get a better look. Okay, so we have the files chosen, and how are we going to cut it out? We want to cut it out. How are we going to do that? Well, initially, you may want to just click File and Print, but what will happen is your Silhouette hasn't been programmed to cut the files out, you know, around the edges. You're basically going to print it out, but there's not going to be any cut. And I'm going to try very hard not to get too technical, but let's say I select them all, they're all selected, and I click Cut, and I set the cut lines. Do you see the square? That's what's going to cut. It's just going to cut the square. It's not going to give me the image or around the image the way I want it to. So what do we have to do in order to get the image to cut out the way we want it to? I'm going to go slow because I have a tendency to go really fast, and we're going to learn how to do that today. So what we want to do is go over to this tool here. It's a little, it looks like a round edged square with a blue inner square and a yellow outer square, and it says open the trace window, and we want to go ahead and click that icon. Here is the tool we're going to actually use. It's select trace area, so we want to go ahead and click that. Then with that clicked, we're going to take our mouse, we're going to left click, hold it down, and drag it across all of the images that we're going to modify in order to use the print and cut feature. Okay, so now you'll notice like a little yellow, I guess a fuzzy yellow line around the images. That is what is basically going to show you what area will be cut out. I think showing you is going to be easier than explaining. So here we have the trace settings. We have the high pass filter and the low pass filter. For this technique, we're going to use the low pass filter. So we're going to unselect the high pass filter, and we're going to select the low pass filter. Now, depending on how close you want your line to the bear is how the threshold would be determined. I have it preset in with my pieces I've worked with at 94%, between 94 and 97%. Let me try to explain what that means. So right now the percentage is 45%, and I have to make sure that I do this in parts because I only have 10 minutes allowed here. So if it cuts me off, I will, you know, basically come back in. Okay, so the threshold is at 45%. As you raise this number, make sure you're looking over here at the bears. As this number goes up, I'm clicking up and I'm letting it go. You'll notice, oh, it should be going faster. It's at 66, 69, and it doesn't really start to take effect to see how it's starting to fill in the higher up the threshold I go. Well, the reason why that's a good thing is because that filling in with that highlighted yellow is what is going to tell the silhouette to trace around those edges. Basically, the yellow you see is the edges that is going to be traced. So the further up the threshold goes, the more space that gets filled in with that yellow highlight. Did you see what just happened? Okay, and for me, right here, it looks good at 96%. I can zoom in and I can get a good look and see how the edges are kind of choppy. Let's go down a little. And it's okay if they're choppy because when you set it, it's going to cut basically around that edge. So you'll see it set. but you can also see with the bear here. And you want to make sure when you're doing that that the entire outer edge is filled in. Let's say you don't fill in the entire outer edge, like up here, the silhouette will cut, it'll come around the edge basically all the way around and then cut into that open space and then keep cutting around. So you want to make sure that when you're doing this that the entire edge of the item that you're cutting is filled in. Okay? I hope this is making sense. If it's not, ask questions and I will clarify. So now we have all the outer edges. We want to double check and make sure all of the outer edges are filled in, and looks like 91% is good. 91, the lower the threshold, the closer to the outer edge it will cut. The further or the higher the threshold between these few numbers, the further outside of the line it will cut. So let me show you an example. I'm going to click Trace Outer Edge. Now, do you see that red line? There's a red line around the outer edge of the image, but as you get closer in, you'll notice that that red line doesn't hug completely the image, so you do get some, like a little bit of a white background, but you have to be careful because see here it actually cuts off some of the bear. So in a way you kind of have to be okay with that because you're going to lose, you know, important parts to the layout. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to where I was. I'm going to raise the threshold to, I'd say, I feel good at 90, oh no, 95. It feels good there because everything gets included, everything closes in. And then I would click Trace Outer Edge and go back in. And even though the line is still, it's a little bigger than the image, or it comes off, it doesn't hug the borders as tight as I like, I still have a good portion of it. And this is even cut off a little bit right here, so I would still raise the threshold just a little more. So I'm going to go ahead and go back. I'll probably just put it at 96. That's what I had been doing it at basically. And supposed to be a quick tutorial, but so we're going to bring it up to 96. And if you go too high, it will fill in the whole, it'll go outside of, you know, what you wanted it to cut, like drastically. It's at 100% threshold, and so you want to be able to kind of gauge that and run that trace outer edge test to be sure that's where you want it to go. So I'll trace the outer edge again, zoom in one more time, and this is a pretty, it's not, it's cutting out parts that I just don't want it to cut out like that. I don't, you know, you may like it, I don't like it. I don't like it when it cuts out the edges not very close or not as close. So I'm going to compromise and be okay with some of the edges being cut off to basically retain that quality that I want with it. So I felt comfortable. I think it was at, let's just go ahead and do 92 just to tickle my fancier. Let's see. I'm going to go ahead and be comfortable with that. I feel good there. Okay, so now we have it traced. So you've seen how I did that. I went ahead and made sure that I selected the threshold space that I wanted it to be at. Here it's at 92%, and then I clicked Trace Outer Edge. Okay, and if you wanted to go even further in, and like the hole here in between the legs of the bear, you can also do the same technique in there. It's a few more steps, but it still is the same process. So what you would do is select your Select Trace Area tool, and then you would basically enclose the area that you want to cut out that has a hole in it, you know, whatever area it is, if it's letters or in between the legs or under the arm or whatever. And you would select the low pass filter, unselect your high pass filter, and since we've determined that the threshold is about 92%, we would plug that same threshold number in. Now, it's a little different this way because you're not doing the outer edge, you're doing the inner edge or inner edge within the image. So the whole, I guess the image itself is all going to go yellow, but the opening isn't. You want that. So what you want to do is click trace, not the outer edge, you're going to click trace. And what's going to happen is that inner part is going to trace with the red, but you're also going to get that square traced. And you want to get rid of the square, so how do you do that? Well, you make sure you click the square and make sure it's just the square selected, and you go to Object, Release Compound Path. Now what that does is lets you take that piece of square and take it away. Because let's say you didn't do that, I'll go ahead and put the path back together, and you selected the square. Let's see. You would, oops, hold on. I didn't click back enough times. Let's see. Yeah, you have to make sure you get the square. Do you see that the whole thing would come out without releasing the compound path? They're all connected together when you do that trace feature. So you need to be able to release that path or release that connection. So that's why you want to do the release the compound path. So you would just go Object, Release Compound Path, and grab the part that you don't want out. And look for them because they're there. That little red circle is there too. You could do this and fine tune it and even get the patches out. That's a little bit past what I've attempted, but you do have that option to do that as well. So this is trash. You don't need this. Okay. And now you have all the pieces ready to cut, and you can do that with these letters too. And if you want me to, I'll show you. I didn't do it with the letters I had because I chose not to do it, because here if I did it, it'll cut out the yellow and the pink and it won't cut the white, and it might be cute, but I just felt that I didn't have enough control over that, so I didn't do it. But you can run that same process here. So you would just click Select Trace Area, and if it cuts off again, I will get back in to the video. It's a 10-minute increments that I get with this program. And you would select the area you want to trace, and then you would go take off the high pass filter, click low pass filter, and put the threshold in that you determined. And what you would then do is click trace, but not trace outer edge. You want to click trace. The trace cuts out the inner parts and the outer parts. And this one's already pretty much ready to go. I didn't really have to do that much there. Now this isn't the path isn't cut with this. One thing is when she does put the when Trisha puts the SVG files together in a photo, it's a photo image, so it's basically like a picture, so it won't see that there's 3 different parts here. It only sees one piece, so that Oh So Loved is considered one piece, which is why I wasn't able to cut it out individually. But if you don't want to cut the inner parts of the other part, you can just discard that or just don't trace that, and you would still be able to do it. Okay, so now that would also cut with the little holes between the O and the S cut out as well. Okay, so what now? What do we do now? Let me go ahead and stop this video and start a new one, start a fresh one here in case I run out of time. Okay, so now we're on the last portion of the tutorial, and we're going to basically just cut out what we did. So first we want to print it, because in order for it to, cut the image out, it needs to be printed out. So what we're going to do is we're going to zoom out. Oops, let me not do that. That's not what I meant. Uh-oh. No, it's not going to let me go back. That's not very nice. Let's see. Let me go back. Please let me go back. Oh, no. Well, I showed you how to do it. So let's just not. I'm not cutting this out. I already cut it out. So you know how to do it if you want to cut it out. I'm going to zoom out. And if you have a 12 by 12 printer, you don't have to do this step I'm going to show you. You can just print it out here, but be sure to select your registration mark. So I will be showing you how to put your registration marks in, but you won't have to do the page setup. You won't have to change the page setup if you have a 12 by 12 printer. If you don't have a 12 by 12 printer, you need to change the page in order for it to format to your printer you actually have. So most printers are 8.5 by 11 inches, like a standard piece of paper. So what you want to do is select File and then click Page Setup. And I'm defaulted here for 8.5 by 11 for the letter size. So I would just go ahead and click OK. And it's going to go ahead and shrink down to that paper size for me so that I can see where my dimensions are. There was one thing I did forget to tell you. So you have the images here ready to cut. You can cut them out like this. I would suggest that you group your trace lines to your images, because like I just did right now, when you move it, the image comes out, the cut line stays there, and then when you get ready to do the print and cut, it's a tragedy. It's just a tragedy because the image prints out where it is right now, but the line cuts out where it's set right now. So now I have, it's just a bad thing. Don't go through it, and avoid the whole process by selecting your image individually and grouping it. Don't select all the images, just select the image uh, itself on its own. Group it on its own. Don't group them all together, otherwise you won't be able to, edit, undo, move, to move them. This one's already being like that, so let me go ahead and start from the beginning there. So I'm going to select it all. I'm going to ungroup them all. I'm going to ungroup them again. Okay. Then I'm going to select the image. I'm going to group it. Let me see if it comes by itself. No, it doesn't want to. You know what it is I need to release a compound path. So after you ungrouped it again. You want to release the compound path because they're connected. The red lines are connected. And I know this is more of a intermediate tutorial because it's a little hard for me too. So now I got the image by itself. I'm going to group it. I'm going to take this one. I'm also going to group it. I wonder if edit, undo, move. Make sure you select all the images. Group, move that one. Group, move that one, and group. It makes it so much easier. Everything's together. Okay, so now what do? We want to take all of these images and put them here on the paper, but before we go through the process, we need to select the registration mark. So the way you do that is you click on this icon here. It looks like 3 carrots, one at the top right, one at the top left, and one at the bottom left. And you want to click that. That's your registration mark icon. You want to select that, and then you want to click the first little box here that says Show Registration Marks. What that's going to do is it's going to give you these indicators, or let the Silhouette know where the marks are for it to read the cut. And I did a tutorial with one of my titles that shows how to use registration marks as well. I'll show you here again, but I may have been clearer in that tutorial. So basically, you have your registration marks showing. You want to make sure the images you're going to print are within those marks. So this red line around the edge of the paper is the border for those marks. Now this is a little bigger, so I'm just going to squeeze it in. You want to make sure, however you do it, that your images are within the red lines, the 4 sides of the red lines. Okay? So now we have that set. So basically, once you have your registration marks put together, you've traced your lines you wanted to trace, you would just click File and you would click Print. I'm not going to click Print because I used it or I already created it, but you would click Print. So once that prints out, you have the piece of paper in your hand with the images printed out. You want to load that back into your silhouette. You want to load that piece of paper the way it looks here on this, I guess this image of the silhouette mat, and load it into your machine. So once it's loaded into the machine, you're going to set the registration marks or have the silhouette detect the registration marks. So I'm going to come back one more video. Just one more. Okay, so this is what we do. We go to File, we go to Send to Silhouette, and typically you would see the cut icon here, but instead it's asking you, hey, do you want to print the image? Well, you've already printed it, so you want to say no. Now, you could go through the process of skipping the file print and just go Send to Silhouette, and then it would give the option to print here. Then you can click here to print. So there's two ways to do that. And I'm skipping the printing, and so it gives you just lets you know how to do what I told you to do about putting the paper down onto the loading mat, and click Continue. And then what you want to do is click Detect Registration Marks. I'll let it do it. It's not going to do it here for me. So you would click Detect automatically. I'm going to skip it because I'm not processing it. And now your cut icon has showed up. So you would click that. Once you click that, after the registration marks have been detected. So you detected the registration marks, your silhouette started going crazy and making all these noise and turned on the infrared light, and now it's going to give you this option. You click Cut, and that's it. It's done. So I know that probably wasn't as clear as I'd like it to be, but hopefully you understood. If you have questions, please ask. Make sure your images aren't touching again when you're cutting. And now I'm going to announce my winner. So now I'm going to select the winner for my Prima flower giveaway, and I'm going to go ahead and go to the YouTube channel, and I had 3 entries. I really did expect more. I don't think I have enough exposure, but even so, I'm grateful for the 3 that I do have, and what I will be using to determine the winner is this website here. It's called random.org. Um, Basically, it's a generator. I plug in the numbers here and I click generate, and it gives me the winner, or the number of, the whatever. Yeah, let me show you. So I go to the giveaway here, and I had 3 entries here, 1 from Leslie Scraps, 2 from Holly Crafts, and 3 from Handy Dandy Scrapper. So Leslie Scraps would be number 1, Holly Crafts would be number 2, and Handy Dandy Scrapper would be 3. And I would go over here, and I'm just going to basically enter the numbers. So I have the minimum is 1, and there were 3 entries, so I put 3. I'm going to click generate, and whatever number pops up would be the winner. So yeah, that's it. I click generate, and the winner is number 1, which is Leslie Scraps. Let me see here. Uh-oh, what happened? Oh, here we go. There we go. So number 1 is Leslie Scraps, and she's the winner of my giveaway here. Congratulations. It was really fun doing this. I'm going to do some more. I don't know what I'm going to give away next, but please stay tuned and subscribe so that you all know when I am having my giveaways. And I do hope this tutorial helped you all on using your Silhouette Studio Designer in a whole new way. Thank you so much for watching, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.